The tech bros are trying to take away your humanity, but you're not a machine. Let's talk about what it means to live like a human in this high-tech world. This is Analogish, and I'm your host, Becky Mollenkamp. Hello, I'm Becky Mollenkamp, and this is Analogish, a new podcast that I made because I was losing myself in the world of AI, and I thought maybe some of you are too. Here's what's happening. For the longest time, I've been doing everything right, supposedly. I have a business, I'm on all the platforms, I'm creating content, so much content, showing up consistently and being visible. And I am chronically tired. And I'm talking about the kind of tired that a good night's sleep does not solve. I just kept having this feeling that my actual life, the one that was happening when I wasn't performing or producing, was happening in the margins. Like it was this leftover thing that I could get to once all of my real work, all of my online work was done. And that was hard enough. Then came generative AI. And that has now basically made it feel like, hey, do all of that, but do it faster and more of it and forever, or get left behind. And I don't know if I'm being dramatic, but something in me just broke and said, I just think it's too much. And the question I kept coming back to is, what is it that we're giving up when we move everything online? And I don't mean that in that is technology bad kind of way, because that's a boring question with no useful answer. Technology's here to stay. But what habits, what skills, what ways of being in our bodies, what communities, our creativity, our humanity, what are we trading away and how do we get them back? And so I started talking to people, writers, coaches, makers, activists, people who had done things like left social media or radically shifted how they are using it, people who are making zines and writing letters and fixing old radios and building gardens and using tools that don't require a login and a password. People who were resting and calling it political, which it is. And those conversations have become this show because I wanted to have more of them. I wanted to feel less alone. And Analogish is helping me do that. And yes, that ish part is doing a lot of heavy lifting because this is about finding our way back to something slower, more intentional, and more human. But it's not about saying, I'm going to go live in the woods and go off grid. I'm not going off grid, as much as that sounds lovely. And you probably aren't either, because we live here in the real world and many of us work in the real world. And we have to decide how to show up on grid, but also how much we let the grid take from us. And that's what we're looking at here, how we find that, whatever word you want to use, balance, harmony, how we walk that tightrope, how we make sure that we stay human in a world that is trying really hard to steal our humanity. And I want to be clear that this show is proudly feminist. I think questions around attention, labor, rest, creativity, those are all fundamentally feminist questions. The people who built these platforms, including and especially AI, did not build them with women, non-binary people, other folks in the margins in mind. In fact, it's been shown again and again that they built those systems in ways that only replicate the oppression that we folks on the margins face. And the ways that those platforms that they built extract from us our time, our content, our attention, our emotional labor, our data, it's not accidental. And we're going to name that here. So if that makes you uncomfortable, this show may not be for you. But more importantly, we're going to figure out what we do about it. How do we show up in this world without losing ourselves? So in the first few episodes, you're going to hear from some incredible people, and you'll continue to hear some really inspiring, motivating, exciting stories. And I hope that they will have you starting to, if nothing else, really think about what you want when it comes to technology and what you don't, where it's helping and where it's harming you. So first, you'll hear from Mikki Kendall, the author of Hood Feminism, someone I deeply admire, And we talk about how AI has been stealing and distorting her work and all of her feelings about parasocial relationships and this strange new world we're all navigating in. And we also talk to Amelia Ruby, who is in the middle of taking a year off of using generative AI while still seeing success in her business. And my dear friend Jordan Maney, who is a joy and rest coach, she's going to challenge everything you think you know about what you deserve. It's really good. You'll hear from a zine maker who's going to make you want to go buy a typewriter, someone who's repairing old radios, a gardener who's sending people physical mail, actual mail, the stuff that the delivery people drop off at your door or in your mailbox, a utopian writer who's going to remind you that the future isn't yet determined, and so many more. These are the kinds of conversations I want to keep having, and I want to share them with you. This podcast is selfishly just an excuse for me to have these conversations. But if I'm going to be doing it, I hope that I can inspire other people along the way to think about liberation in their lives, especially when it comes to how we spend our free time, meaning how we spend our time, because all of our time should be free. And if you're here because you're tired, that makes sense. If you're here because you're skeptical of where all of this, especially AI, is going, hard same. And if you're here because part of you remembers what it felt like to be bored and unsupervised, being told to go drink from the water hose and not come home until dark, welcome home. I see you and I was you. I am you. New episodes of the show will drop every Wednesday for as long as I'm excited about these conversations. I'm really glad you found the show. Let's slow down together. I can't wait to bring you more. Thanks for listening to Analogish. This episode is over, but the world is still out there. Go find it.